Good afternoon. My name is Natalia Schwarz, and today I will shortly explain with this video the study that has been done at The Hague University of Applied Sciences. You can see on the first slide the names of all of the authors, and I definitely speak for the whole group when I am presenting. And I want to thank Professor Jan Trauer for graciously volunteering to play this video due to the difference in time. He is also the author of the software we have been using and largely inspired our use of computational modeling. You can also see Professor Peter Roelofsma right next to his name, and he is the director of our living lab that is connecting education, research and industry. And you can of course see the first authors right above my name who have provided these simulations and executed the conceptual work required to understand electromagnetic signature management on the battlefield. What has been the trigger to start on this topic is a number of incidents that have been happening all over the world with unauthorized use of devices leading to detection of military movements. So I would like to speak more about that in the background knowledge and the scenario, and then continue into the topic. What I already mentioned is a number of incidents that have proven to us the urgency of this topic. For example, a soldier that is texting or using dating apps, or even less trivial things such as tracking the sports that they are obliged to fulfill, leading to affect the signatures, the digital signatures that are being communicated, and then that becomes a danger to the whole unit or the troops that are in the area. So it has become one of the ways to look at the maneuvers and the military that is operating in different regions. What it also does is, let's say we have a number of camouflage methods, and one of them is especially important for urban areas where there is a possibility of very close combat. So if there is any advantage in detecting the opponent, this would be of high value. So there have been anecdotal evidence of countermeasures such as throwing away the phones right at the deployment moment in Russia, or throwing the recruits into the lakes in order to stop them from having electronic devices. But there are of course already much more advanced and technologically speaking fail-safe methods that can be applied here. So for the purpose of our simulation, we have assumed that soldiers will be using mobile phones because that is broadly recognized, and we asked how could this be countered? How can we prevent the detection of the troops due to these incidents? And we looked at two methods, ARCAS and retrans. I will explain later what were the specifics. And we also looked at the scenario where nothing is implemented, so there would be a possibility of the detection. What we have, as I already slightly presented in the beginning, what we have used is the computational analysis with adaptive network modeling. That means we looked at the process of using digital devices, the generation of the electromagnetic signature, and then we assigned relevant factors and their causal influences to the temporal causal network model. That way we could explore different outcomes for the scenario. What you see in front of you is our conceptual model. It starts with the soldier that is using mobile phone for either communication, social media, or very simply entertainment. That leads, this urges lead to the use of mobile phones. And then with the generation of the electromagnetic signature, the question is if there are either countermeasures or not, which would be resulting in detection of the position of the soldiers. So we tried with no protection, with using only ARCAS, using only retrans, or using both. So here you can see the base, if there would be no intervention into the existing process. Here you can see the countermeasures linked to ARCAS, similarly retrans. So we are introducing the new states. Here you can see a combination of ARCAS and retrans, given the assumption that mobile phones are being used by soldiers. At the end, there comes an adaptation and different combinations of the states. And in the design, we used the three characteristics of approach proposed by Professor Treur: connectivity, aggregation, and timing. That means we can trace the connections, positive, negative, between the states. Also, how strong the connection is, how they influence each other. We also do it over time, so each of the states can have a separate speed. And there is a difference in aggregation, so there we are using functions which will be shown in the tables. Here you can see the overview of the connectivity, so precisely what are the connections, what is the weight, and you can also notice the levels that were represented in the diagram. And here you can see which functions have been leveraged in order to model this specific process. In that case, we also had different speed factors because the reaction speed or the countermeasures are slower than the process. So that way you can see what has been used as the speed factor and as well the initial values. Here's the simulation if we use MATLAB to model this process. And the main outcome that we see here is that both countermeasures are necessary in order to completely camouflage the electromagnetic signature. So we also conducted a what-if analysis, looking at the different factors or risk of the changes. And consequently, the same recommendation has been made. So especially if the mobile phone use is growing, or as I mentioned, the terrain is dense, urban, with many signatures, there has to be implementation of double measures. What also was clear is it's almost impossible to not camouflage signatures. So if we would pursue the same thinking as some of the commanders at the beginning of clashes in Ukraine to strip soldiers of their mobile devices, what happened is they appeared very clearly on the map as an empty area, because it is now almost unthinkable to have places with people but without phones. So both very high number of signatures is suspicious and would lead to investigation, but as well the emptiness, so no signatures, becomes as well a dangerous approach. So the best way is to combine the two camouflage techniques in order to provide the best prevention of detection. You can here see the different factors that were included in the what-if analysis with their options, and the simulations that followed in order to come to the conclusions that I have mentioned. To conclude, we also looked at scenarios where this is particularly relevant. So there I would come back to this thought of both empty spaces and too crowded spaces being suspicious in terms of looking at pattern recognition of electromagnetic signatures. To this end, we would recommend to use both methods in order to camouflage the movements of the troops. Thank you for listening. If there would be any questions that we could answer as a research group, I'm happy to receive them through emails. Thank you so much, and I wish you a great conference ahead.